Hi everyone, welcome back to crafthouseprogramming.com. I'm Nilton Santos, an electronic trading Java developer based in New York City. So in this video, I'm going to be using the Codeium Pro version to try and build the restaurant reservation system. If you've been following along this series of testing AI coding tools within the best IDE for Java development, IntelliJ IDEA, you know that I had a subpar, I would say really a terrible experience using the Codeium free version. It integrates poorly with IntelliJ IDEA. By far it's the worst I've tried. And the suggestions were just really bad, to the point where I just gave up using. It was just really bad, getting in a way. The point of these tools is to make my life easier, to make me more productive, and the free version was just really getting in the way. So anyway, I decided to give this tool a second try, and I have upgraded to the Pro version, and let's see how it goes. So let's create a new project, restaurant reservation system with Codeium Pro. So Pro is what they call the paid version. And by the way, I'll put links in the description below to the previous Codeium free version, as well as the playlist where I built the exact same restaurant reservation system using GitHub CoPilot plugin in IntelliJ, as well as the ChatGPT 4.0 canvas. Let's select quick start here and advanced settings. Yeah. All right. So let me just zoom this for you guys, 200. So hopefully this is better. So to install the plugin, go to settings and then plugins, and then here you basically click install. I already have it installed. Like I said, this is version 2. I already made a tutorial testing the free version of this tool. So let me just see something, because I've already upgraded to the Pro version. So let's see here, opening Codeium base model Pro. Okay, cool. So if you see here on the chat window here, on my previous video where I was testing the free version, I could not change the model. Here, because I'm using the Pro, I can now change the model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use the Pro, and then I'm going to do another test using the Claude SONET. So let's start with this guy here, model. Okay, now I've selected this model, and again, if you want an overview of how to use this chat window, please refer to the previous video. Okay, I already went through that. I don't want to do this on this video again. So anyway, as usual, let's create our restaurant manager interface. Again, refer to the previous video where I gave an overview of the simple restaurant reservation system API that I'm building with Java. So this is just part 2 of that Codeium free version. Okay. All right. So let's create the interface here. Restaurant manager. Cannot type. Restaurant manager. All right. So this is an interface. Let's get rid of this guy. Don't need it. All right. So we have here the API. Let's just fix all these imports. Let's import this, import list, import local date. Okay, cool. So again, just very quickly, I've already described what is the point of this restaurant manager interface and this method. This is a method to add a restaurant, giving a name, an address, a capacity, number of seats, the time the restaurant opens, it closes, and when the dates that it's closed, could be holidays. This string is supposed to be not the name of the restaurant, but a unique ID that identifies the restaurant, which can then be used to say remove the restaurant or to modify it. Okay, cool. So let's go to the chat window and see it's using this restaurant manager as the context here. So let me give it the exact same prompt I gave to the free version and see what I get. Okay, so implement the restaurant manager interface following these constraints. Okay, let's see. So constraint number 1, Again, this is always the same. All the input parameters must be non-null and semantic validated. For example, capacity parameter must be a positive number and the closest list must refer to dates in the future. Constraint number 2, the restaurant must be open for at least 8 hours and the close time must be strictly after 8. This derives from the first axiom that it needs to be open for at least 8 hours. Validation failures must generate a runtime exception with a detailed error message, And obviously this is 3 and 4. I'm just saying that the modified restaurant must be implemented simply by removing and adding a new restaurant, okay? So the exact same prompt I used for the GitHub CoPilot chat, and I got great results on the first try. I had to make minor tweaks, but it was really good. And also on ChatGPT 4.0 canvas. Let's see what it comes up with. So I'm using the 4.0 model. Okay, so let's see what this thing is coming up with. All right, so it has again. All right, so again, I'm not quite happy with this. So why is it recreating the restaurant manager interface when I told it to implement it? I already have an interface. This thing does not need to re-implement it. And it's implementing an interface with a different API. Add restaurant was returning a string. And now I have pseudocode here. This is just appalling. Good God. Do not create a new restaurant manager interface. Okay, first thing. I already have an interface. So why is it recreating? And 2, implement the interface. Let's see, restaurant manager, exactly how it's declared. I shouldn't have to say this. And 3, I need a full implementation. Okay, no pseudo code. Let's see. All right, so it's better now. So create a restaurant manager, is implementing my interface, so no that business of creating a new one in not even the same method signatures that I had. So let's see. So I have an add restaurant, remove and modify, implement in terms of remove and add, better. Okay, add restaurant, it is using restaurant get ID. Okay, so we have a list. Not the ideal data structure. So it created a restaurant as an inner class of the restaurant manager implementation. And the ID is using just a simple counter here. Okay. So let's see if we can improve on this. So first, let's see. Let's tell it to change the restaurant. Actually, instead of telling exactly what to do, you know what, let's test this thing. Let's tell it to improve on the efficiency, improve on the implementation of the restaurants. I need fast lookup for the modify restaurant and remove restaurant. Let's see if it gets what I'm trying to tell it. Perfect. So you see it changed to a map, and it's using the key of the map as the ID is the key of the map. So this is better. So let's see what we have here. Validate parameters. So it's validating that it's not null. And then, okay. If it's not null, it's validating that it's not empty. And doing the validations of the times, capacity. Okay. So that's cool. Let's tell it to the restaurant, the restaurant. Okay, just make the restaurant, gosh, cannot type. Make the restaurant a top level class. All right, so now we have a separate class here. Okay, I think I'm going to accept that. I need to improve validate parameters because I want it to include the close, the parameters that failed on the exception here. But okay, so let's copy this and let's come up here and let's paste and let's go back to the chat and let's do the same thing for the restaurant class. Come up here, paste. Okay, so I have my restaurant class. So let's start to try to do some refactoring here. For example, this guy, let's tell it to implement using a UUID. Let's see if he gets the drift. All right, so let's accept. Okay, sure why it inserted this thing here. And he kept the ID counted there, and it's still calling this. Oh boy, so let's see what I can do here. Right, so this is really a shame. Can I just refactor this? Remove field ID. Explain the problem. Let's see if you can tell me what the problem is. So unfortunately, I can't really easily come here and clean up this thing. So again, I'm gonna have to do a lot of manual work with getting this field and coming here, chugging this field in here. I wonder whether he can do it for me, but so oddly enough, I don't have this refactor explain on the constructor or at the class level, which it would have been useful to try to tell it to fix this issue. It's very odd indeed, very odd. So anyway, one way to fix this is to just put it here, but here I am doing manual work, and the tool is really not helping me much. Okay, so let's go to Restaurant Manager. So one thing that I wanted to do, let's see if it gets it. So I wanted to include the variable names in the exception messages. Okay, not quite sure why. All right, so it's doing there. All right, so it included the variable names here, but it did not include here. It's a bit strange. Let's make it work a little bit harder for us. Use string.format for the exception. So let's say for all the relevant exception messages. Okay, see, it got it completely wrong. Why is he doing that? It should be just when there is a parameter that it does that. So this obviously was a wrong generation. So we got it right here, but here, why is it not using the same thing I did here, i.e. using the close and open on the exception message? So that's just weird. So we have to roll back this change. So let's reject. Let's try again. Use string format in the relevant exception messages. I have to tell it include the local variables. Okay, let's just fix the typo here. Relevant. Alright, so before I accept this, let's see what the heck this thing is doing. So again, this is wrong. There is no need to restaurant name. Okay, shouldn't be doing that because the message itself has the name. So this is a little bit redundant because the message itself says it cannot be empty, so we know it's empty. What is this? Address cannot be empty again. Shouldn't be doing that. So I will accept that, but it's not 100%. There is no need to use string format on this. You should have been smart enough to know that there is no need to do it here. But we have this. Alright, so let's go to the restaurant class, and here I want to implement a method called public boolean is reservation date time valid. Okay, and it's going to take a local date time, yes, and it's going to take a duration in hours. Alright, so can I tell it to implement a method like this? Okay, I'm cycling through the suggestions. Alright, so what he did here is I was cycling through suggestions, and what he did here is if the date time, so he's getting the time of this reservation, if it's after the open, and so let's just break this thing here. All right, so if the time of the reservation is after the open, okay, so what is this is date close that it generated here? Let's see, create this method. Okay, so again, let's try to cycle through this. I'm not really happy with these suggestions, so tell you what, let me just get rid of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the model, see if I get better results. So let's go to the Codeium, and let's change from GPT-4 to, I don't know, they have this thing. Let's try SONET, why not? So when I change the model, I wonder whether I need to, yeah, I'm not sure if I need to do anything. But let's see how it goes. All right, so I got this auto completion here, as you can see. So now I'm using the SONET, which is the AI model by Anthropic. So Claude SONET. All right, so this comparing duration in hours with capacity, it's just like makes absolute no sense. So again, this is not correct. So let's try to cycle through this. So how do I? So I'm cycling through the suggestions and see if there is something that makes sense. And duration in hours less than 23, yeah. So I'm still not happy with this suggestion. Let's try their own model. So they have here a model called Codeium Premier. So let's try this model. We're still doing that. So when I change the model, I don't know if I need, okay, I'm getting something different here. So one thing that it's really missing is it's not actually using the closures, right? So this is a very simple, I never had this problem with GitHub Copilot chat or even with the ChatGPT 4.0 canvas. It just got it, right? It's not a difficult thing to do. It has to check that these dates are not in these closure lists. And the start time needs to be greater than or equal to the open, and the time plus duration in hours needs to be less than close, less than or equal. So this is not a difficult thing, but this thing just doesn't do it. Let's try it again. Public boolean is time valid, and again local date time, and it's going to have here duration in hours. Okay, so let's see. Again, it's using comparing duration hours with capacity. Okay, what is it doing now? Again, this is like even if I accept this is an incomplete. What is this thing doing? Again, throwing in duration with hours. Yeah. Again, it's really getting on a way. It's not like it's not a good experience. Find if closures contain this. So it's somehow got this thing right now. So let's see what it's doing. Gosh, finally got it. So notice that if I accept, even this is not really correct, right? Because it's just looking at the end. This duration plus the time plus duration in hours is the end time of the reservation. It's not enough to check that the end time is between the open and the close, because that's basically what it is doing here. Because the beginning of the reservation may be before the open, and this would still be wrong. So again, I'm not really satisfied with this. So let me, okay, I guess he wants me to use this. And plus, he didn't even generate the correct code, as you see here. Let's just go to the, so let's go up here, and let's give this thing one last chance, which is let's generate the reservation system, or I should say restaurant. So these are the methods we have on the restaurant reservation system. Let's just accept this, or import this, I should say. So again, let's go to the chat window, and let's try to generate this. So let's use the exact same prompt to implement this. So implement the restaurant existing support reservation system. Yes. Interface following these constraints. So constraint number 1, a reservation has a duration of 2 hours. Constraint number 2, a reservation cannot be made on a date when the restaurant is closed. Constraint number 3, a reservation can only be made between the open and close times of the restaurant. Reservation number 4, a reservation cannot be made if these new reservations number of people plus all the existing overlapping reservations number of people exceeds the restaurant capacity. So please refer to this, what I mean by this, on a previous video, because I'm about to wrap up with this tool. So all the input parameters must be non-null and semantically validated. For example, the phone number parameter must be a valid US phone number, and the restaurant ID parameter must refer to an existing restaurant with that ID. Validation failures must generate a runtime exception with a detailed error message containing the input parameter that failed the validation. And like we did for the restaurant manager interface, the modified reservation can be implemented simply by canceling and adding a new reservation. Okay? So very specific prompt, the same one I used for ChatGPT with Canvas as well as GitHub CoPilot chat. Let's see what this thing comes up with. Alright, so it creates a nice mapping here. Hopefully this is and it's using the restaurant manager as passed into this class. Let's see, we're going to take a look at the validate parameters, but for now, the add reservation. Yeah, okay, let's see, okay, we have a reservation. Alright, okay, let's take a look. So we do a lookup of the restaurant using the restaurant ID. And then if it's null, we just say that there is no restaurant with that ID. Nice, so it's using the isReservation datetime valid that I asked it to implement before, which it couldn't do it. So if it's not a valid datetime, then it is writing an exception with the actual ID. And then it has this overlapping, we're gonna take a look at these overlapping reservations. But basically, it's getting the overlapping reservations for the restaurant with this ID and this date time. And then for each of those, it is computing the total number of people. And then if this total number of people exceeds the restaurant capacity, then we cannot basically make that booking against this restaurant. Otherwise, if all these the validations pass, it's using the UID to create a new reservation and then adding it to the map. Modify is implemented in terms of cancel and add, and cancel is if the reservation does not contain this. If we don't have a reservation with this ID in our reservations map, then we just throw this exception, otherwise we remove it. So let's see, validate what it's doing here. So it's validating the name and a phone number that matches a US phone number, restaurant ID against nullity and make sure it's not null or empty, number of people, and the date time. So let's look at the overlapping reservations. So what it is doing is it's going through all the reservations across all the restaurants. And then what it is doing is it's basically filtering for the restaurant whose ID is the one that we're trying to create this new booking against. And if it overlaps, then we add and then return that. So let's see what's the meaning of overlapping. So what it's doing is it's getting the existing, this is the time of so existing start, existing end. Let's see, is overlapping. All right, this is correct. This is the meaning of overlapping. Okay, so this is not too bad, not too bad. So let's just copy that. Okay, let's copy. Let's get out of here. Let's go here. Let's paste. So there are a few things that maybe we just need to fix. Yeah, some imports. All right, so we did a get restaurant. We do not have a method there. Good. So we're going to implement that shortly. Let's go back to this class and make sure that all the imports are fixed. Okay, good. So let's go here to the restaurant, because this method is not implemented. All right, let's implement this method, get restaurant. Okay, implemented it. So let's go to the reservation system. I think to wrap up, let me just ask it to generate some tests. Let's go back to the chat window. And here, let's say, generate, okay, there is no, so how do I do that? Concept part, I don't know, generate JUnit 5 tests for the restaurant manager class. All right, so what is it doing? Testing add restaurant. So it's creating a new restaurant object and then just looking up there on the restaurant manager, making sure that this is exactly the fields that we passed in. Test get restaurant, test get non-existing restaurant, test remove. So we add and then we remove and then we assert it's not there. Test modify. Okay, so this is pretty basic tests. Let's see, generate tests for the reservation system, for the restaurant reservation system class. Okay, again, JUnit 5. So let's see. Okay, all right, so to add a reservation, it's adding a restaurant first, and then it's adding a reservation against this restaurant using the restaurant ID that got returned there, and then asserting that we do have a reservation ID that is not null. Add reservation invalid restaurant. So this is just us adding a booking to a restaurant that doesn't exist. Assert that a runtime exception is thrown. Add reservation and invalid date time. So it's a nice comment here, before date time. Okay, because the restaurant is open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and is putting a date here in the past. Interestingly, it used the restaurant closures as an empty list. Tested that the reservation exceeds the capacity. So it's adding a reservation. So what is the capacity that it is using for the restaurant? Restaurant capacity 101 people. Okay, fair enough. Cancel, so we add the restaurant, then we add a reservation, we cancel. No exception is thrown. This is not really a good test. You could have just asked the system for a reservation, but I guess we don't have that method. All right, so let's copy all these and make sure that these tests actually pass. So let's see, let's copy. Let's go up here to test, paste this. Let's go back to the Codeium. Let's get the other test, the restaurant manager test. Copy. And let's paste here. What's wrong here? Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's see if this stuff runs. All right, so you see there are some test failures. All right, so I'm gonna stop here. So what is the verdict on this tool? So again, I don't like the lack of integration with the IntelliJ IDE. I don't think the plugin is well integrated. To be fair, with the GitHub CoPilot chat was also not well integrated, but it was a way better experience. As I was coding, we was getting the methods correctly. We was really guessing what I was typing. For example, the implementation inside the restaurant class. So this thing here, this with GitHub Copilot was a breeze. Even on the chat, GPT with Canvas here was just a complete struggle. And even though I cycled through different models, as you saw, I still didn't get the correct implementation. So it's definitely a better tool than the free version, but I think it's still not at the level of the GitHub Copilot plugin with IntelliJ. It still gets in, I feel that it gets in the way. Even the tests you saw, the tests have errors, it doesn't pass. Again, the whole purpose of these tools for me is to make me more productive. I don't want to have to struggle with the tool. I don't want to feel that the tool is getting on the way. And I hear with this tool, I still feel that it gets on the way. Anyway, I'm going to end this video. I'm Nilton for craftlessprogramming.com. If you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button, notification bell. Take care.